The moment my sister Vanessa pointed at me and laughed, every guest at table 6 turned to stare. 200 people were packed into the grand ballroom of Whitmore Estate, chandeliers dripping crystal light onto centerpieces that cost more than my monthly grocery budget, and my older sister was standing at the head table with a champagne flute in her hand, microphone in the other, her Vera Wang gown pooling around her like she was posing for the cover of a magazine. "I just want to give a special shout-out to my little sister Naomi," she said, her voice syrupy and amplified across the room, "who showed up to my wedding in a dress she clearly bought at a thrift store." She paused for effect, pressing her hand to her chest in mock sympathy. "But hey, we love her anyway, right?" Scattered laughter. Some people covered their mouths. My mother, seated 3 chairs to my left, stared at her plate. My father put his hand on her arm and said nothing. The man sitting next to me, Vanessa's college friend Derek, shifted his chair a few inches away, as if whatever I had might be contagious. I looked down at my dress. Navy blue. Simple cut. I'd bought it at a department store clearance rack for $41 because I'd spent everything else I had that month on something Vanessa didn't know about. Something nobody in that room knew about, except possibly one person, and he wasn't sitting at any of the guest tables. My hands were shaking under the tablecloth. I pressed them flat against my thighs and kept my face still. I'd gotten good at that over the years, keeping still while Vanessa performed. But here's the thing about that night, and the reason I'm telling you this story. Vanessa had picked Whitmore Estate as her dream venue. She'd told everyone, our parents, her fiancé Marcus, her bridesmaids, her Instagram followers, that she'd found it herself, fallen in love with the grounds, negotiated the rate. She made it sound like it was her personal discovery, her taste, her accomplishment. What she didn't know, what nobody at that wedding knew yet, was that my name was on the contract. Not hers, not Marcus's, mine. And before the night was over, the owner of Whitmore Estate was going to walk into that ballroom and ask a question that would change every single dynamic in the room. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back. Vanessa is 4 years older than me. Growing up, she was the one who got the grades, got the attention, got the first car. I was the quiet one, the one who helped with dishes while Vanessa practiced her valedictorian speech in the mirror. I don't say that to make you feel sorry for me. That's just how it was. Some families have a son, and everyone else orbits. I went to community college, studied business administration, and got a job at a property management company in our town called Linden Group. It wasn't glamorous. I answered phones, processed lease agreements, filed maintenance requests. But I liked the work. I liked being behind the scenes, making things function. Over 6 years, I worked my way up to operations coordinator, then to client services manager. My boss, a man named Arthur Whitmore, trusted me. He'd built the company from nothing, started with 2 rental properties, and eventually acquired the estate that bore his family name. Whitmore Estate had been a private home, then a bed and breakfast, and Arthur had spent years restoring it into an event venue. I managed the bookings personally. I handled vendor coordination, client contracts, deposit schedules. That venue was as much my professional life as it was Arthur's investment. When Vanessa got engaged to Marcus 2 years ago, she called me exactly once to share the news. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. She told me the ring was 2 carats, the proposal happened at a rooftop restaurant, and the wedding would be elegant, not budget. Then she asked if I could help address envelopes. 6 months later, she called again. She wanted a venue. She'd seen photos of Whitmore Estate on a wedding blog and was obsessed. She didn't know I worked there. I'd mentioned my job to her before, more than once. But Vanessa had a habit of filtering out anything that didn't directly involve her. So when she asked our mother to look into that gorgeous estate outside of town, and our mother told her that I actually managed bookings there. Vanessa called me with a tone I recognized, the one she used when she needed something, but didn't want to seem like she was asking. Naomi, I had no idea you worked at that place. That's so cute. Listen, Marcus and I want to book it for October. Can you make that happen? October was 11 months away and already had a tentative hold for a corporate retreat. I could have told her no. I should have told her no. Instead, I rearranged the schedule, talked to Arthur, and got her the date. I also, and this is the part that matters, signed the booking contract under my own name because Vanessa hadn't yet provided her information, and the deposit deadline was the next day. Arthur needed a signed agreement to hold the date. I put down a $1,500 deposit from my own savings. Vanessa said she'd reimburse me once Marcus gets his bonus. She never did. Over the next 10 months, I coordinated almost everything. I negotiated the catering rate down because I knew the vendor personally. I got her a 15% discount on the floral package. I arranged for the estate's garden terrace to be used for the ceremony at no extra charge, a favor Arthur granted because of my years of work. In total, I personally saved Vanessa somewhere around $9,000 on her wedding. The contract, the full booking agreement for Whitmore Estate, remained in my name. Vanessa kept saying she'd take care of the paperwork, and never did. Every payment confirmation, every vendor addendum, every insurance rider my name, my signature. I didn't push it. That was my mistake. I told myself it was easier this way, that I was helping, that family doesn't keep score. I wanted her to see me. I wanted her to say thank you, even once, and mean it. She didn't. 3 weeks before the wedding, Vanessa finalized the bridal party. I wasn't in it. She chose 4 college friends and Marcus's sister. When I called to ask if there'd been a mistake, she sighed and said, "Naomi, I just didn't think you'd be comfortable up there. You're not really a spotlight person, you know?" Then she added, "But you'll be at the family table. That's important too." I swallowed it. I bought the navy dress on clearance. I showed up, and she mocked me for it in front of 200 people. After the toast, I excused myself from the table and walked out to the garden terrace. The fairy lights I'd helped string up 2 days before were glowing above me. I stood there with my arms crossed, breathing in and out, trying to decide whether to leave. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Dana. "Did she seriously just do that? Are you okay?" I typed back, "I'm fine." I wasn't. The glass doors behind me opened, and my mother stepped out. She had that look, the one where she's already decided what she's going to say, but wants to seem like she's deliberating. "Naomi, please don't make a scene." "I'm standing in a garden, Mum, alone." You know how Vanessa is. She didn't mean it like that. She said it into a microphone. My mother pressed her lips together. "She's under a lot of stress. It's her wedding day. Can you just let it go? For today?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. My mother touched my shoulder, a gesture that was supposed to feel comforting, but felt more like a lid being pressed down on a pot that was about to boil over. She went back inside. I stood there for another 5 minutes. Then I went to the venue office. I don't know exactly why, maybe habit. Maybe because it was the one room in that building that felt like mine. The office was dark. I sat in the chair behind the desk and opened the filing cabinet where I kept the active event contracts. I pulled out the Whitmore Estate booking file for Vanessa's wedding. 12 pages, my name on every signature line, my deposit receipts stapled to the back, payment confirmations routed through my work email. I hadn't planned anything. I want to be clear about that. I wasn't sitting there scheming. I was sitting there trying not to cry in a $41 dress in the dark office of a venue I'd spent years helping to build, holding a contract for a wedding where I wasn't even considered important enough to stand beside my own sister. That's when Arthur walked in. He'd come to check on the AV system. There'd been a speaker issue during cocktail hour. He flipped on the light, saw me, and stopped. "Naomi, what are you doing in here?" "Just needed a minute." He looked at me. Arthur Whitmore was 63 years old, built like a retired linebacker, and had a way of reading people that made small talk impossible. He pulled up a chair. "What happened?" I shook my head. "Family stuff." He glanced at the file in my lap. "That the Mitchell car contract?" Mitchell was Vanessa's married name now. Carr was Marcus's surname. But the contract didn't say Mitchell Carr. It said Naomi Mitchell. "Arthur, can I ask you something? If someone wanted to find out who booked this event, if a guest, say, or anyone asked who holds the contract, what would you tell them?" He frowned. "I'd tell them what's in the file. You're the contracting party. You signed the agreement. You placed the deposits. You're the point of contact for every vendor on the addendum list. Legally, you are the client." I closed the file. "Okay. Naomi, is there a problem with the event?" "No. The event is beautiful." He watched me for a long moment. "You've been quieter than usual these past few weeks, and I noticed you weren't in the wedding party." I didn't answer. "That woman up there giving the toast, your sister, she told the florist she planned the entire event herself. Gina mentioned it to me. Said the bride kept saying she discovered this venue." My throat tightened. "That sounds like Vanessa." Arthur stood up. "I'm going to go fix the speaker in the East Wing. But Naomi, you should know that I keep meticulous records. If anyone ever questions who made this wedding happen, the paperwork doesn't lie." He left. I sat there holding the file and felt something shift in me. Not anger exactly. Something more like clarity. I'd spent 10 months building something beautiful for a person who couldn't even thank me, and she'd used the stage I helped create to humiliate me. I put the file back. I went to the restroom, fixed my makeup, and walked back into the ballroom. The dancing had started. Vanessa was in the center of the floor with Marcus, laughing, radiant. My father caught my eye across the room and raised his glass slightly, a small gesture that might have meant, "I'm sorry," or might have meant, "Please just get through this." I sat down. Derek had moved to another table. The seat next to me was empty. 40 minutes later, Vanessa came over during a break between songs. She was flushed, happy, a little drunk. She leaned down and squeezed my shoulder. "Naomi, no hard feelings about the toast thing, right? I was just joking. You know I appreciate you." "Do you?" She blinked. "Of course I do." "Then can you tell me something? How much did this venue cost?" She waved her hand. "Marcus handled the finances." "Marcus didn't sign the contract, Vanessa." "I did." Her smile flickered. "Right, yeah, because of the timing thing. But Marcus paid for everything. He paid for the catering deposit and part of the floral package. I paid the venue deposit, $1,500. You said you'd reimburse me." "I'm sure we did." "You didn't." She straightened up. The warmth dropped from her face like a mask being removed. "Naomi, this is my wedding day. Are you seriously bringing up money right now?" "I'm bringing up the fact that my name is on every piece of paper that made tonight possible, and you told 200 people I showed up in a thrift store dress." "Oh my God." She stepped back. "This is exactly why I didn't put you in the bridal party. You always make everything about you." She walked away. I watched her go back to the dance floor, whisper something to Marcus, and laugh. Marcus glanced at me. I couldn't read his expression. The next morning, I woke up to a group text from my mother. She'd created a family thread me, Vanessa, my father, and herself. The message read, "Beautiful wedding yesterday. Let's all be grateful and move forward as a family. No drama." Vanessa responded with a heart emoji. I didn't respond. Over the next week, I did something I should have done months earlier. I gathered every email, every receipt, every payment confirmation related to the wedding. I compiled the vendor correspondence that showed my name as the primary contact. I printed the original contract with my signature. I put it all in a folder, not because I was planning revenge, but because I'd started to realize that if I didn't document what I'd done, it would simply disappear. Vanessa would rewrite the story. She always did. On Thursday, Vanessa posted a long Instagram caption thanking everyone who made our dream wedding possible. She tagged the florist, the caterer, the DJ, the photographer, the venue's Instagram page. She didn't mention me. In the caption, she wrote, "When I first discovered Whitmore Estate, I knew it was the one." Dana sent me a screenshot. "You seeing this?" I stared at the post. 1,400 likes. Comments praising Vanessa's incredible taste and eye for detail. I almost let it go. Almost. But then something happened that I didn't expect. Arthur called me into his office on Friday morning. He looked uncomfortable. "Naomi, I need to talk to you about something. Your sister's husband, Marcus Carr, called me yesterday. He's disputing the final invoice. Says the balance doesn't match what he agreed to pay." "What balance?" "There's $4,200 remaining on the contract. The final venue payment was due the day of the event, and it wasn't paid. I held off because you're my employee and I trusted you'd handle it. But Marcus is claiming the total was supposed to be lower and that the contract terms were different from what he agreed to with the wedding planner." My stomach dropped. "He thinks I'm the wedding planner?" "Apparently your sister told him you were coordinating as a favor like a freelance planner. He doesn't seem to understand that you're the contracting party. He told me on the phone that his wife handled the venue and that I should take it up with her." I sat back. "Arthur, I signed that contract. Every payment that's been made came through my account or was routed through my desk. If there's an outstanding balance, it's technically my liability. That's exactly my concern, which is why I need to resolve this directly." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to contact the people who actually owe this money, and if Marcus Carr doesn't understand who signed the contract, then someone needs to explain it to him." I asked Arthur to let me handle it first. He agreed, reluctantly, giving me until the following Wednesday. That night, I called Vanessa. She didn't pick up. I called again. Voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk about the venue balance. It's important." She responded 2 hours later. "Can it wait? Marcus and I are exhausted from the honeymoon planning." I called Marcus directly. He answered on the second ring. "Naomi, hey, what's going on?" "Marcus, there's a remaining balance on the Whitmore Estate contract, $4,200. Were you aware of that?" Silence. Then, "Vanessa told me everything was covered." "It's not, and the contract is in my name, which means I'm the one who's liable if it's not paid." "Wait, your name? I thought you were just helping coordinate." "I signed the booking agreement. I placed the original deposit. Every payment confirmation has my name on it." More silence. "Naomi, I honestly didn't know that. Vanessa handled all the venue stuff. She told me she found the place and worked out the deal directly with the owner." There it was. Vanessa hadn't just failed to credit me. She'd actively told Marcus a different version of events, one where she was the one who'd found, booked, and arranged everything. She'd written me out of the story completely, and then she'd stood at a microphone and laughed at my dress. I told Marcus I'd send him the contract and payment records. He said he'd talk to Vanessa. 2 days later, I got a call from Vanessa. Her voice was tight, controlled. Marcus showed me your little email. I don't appreciate you going behind my back to my husband. I went to your husband because you wouldn't return my calls. Because there's nothing to discuss. The wedding is over. Why are you trying to create problems? Vanessa, there's a $4,200 balance on a contract with my name on it. That's not a problem I created. Then pay it. You work there. Get Arthur to waive it or something. I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at it. You want me to pay for your wedding venue? You offered to help. You said you'd handle it. I handled the booking. I handled the coordination. I handled the deposits. I didn't offer to fund your wedding. God, Naomi, you're always like this. You do something nice and then hold it over everyone's head. I've never held anything over your head. I've never even asked you to acknowledge what I did. But I'm asking now. Pay the balance, or at least split it. Because if Arthur doesn't get paid, it's my professional reputation that suffers. She hung up. Wednesday came. I sat in Arthur's office and told him the truth, all of it. That my sister had booked the venue through me, but had never transferred the contract to her name. That she'd told her husband she'd arranged everything herself. That the remaining balance was unpaid and she was refusing to address it. Arthur listened without interrupting. When I finished, he folded his hands on the desk. Naomi, I've worked with you for 6 years. You've never missed a deadline, never mishandled a contract, never let a client down. I'm not going to let your sister's wedding become a mark on your record. But I also can't waive $4,200. I know. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to contact the bride and groom directly and as the venue owner and inform them of the outstanding balance and the terms of the contract. If they dispute it, I'll provide documentation. I'll also make clear who the contracting party is, since there seems to be some confusion. Arthur, she's going to be furious. That's not my concern. My concern is that a contract is honored. And frankly, Naomi, my other concern is you. You gave that wedding everything you had. And from what I saw Saturday night, you didn't get much in return. He sent the letter the next day. A formal communication from Whitmore Estate to Mr. and Mrs. Marcus Carr, outlining the remaining balance, attaching the signed contract, my contract, and noting that all coordination, deposits, and vendor arrangements had been conducted by Naomi Mitchell in her capacity as both an employee of Whitmore Estate and the contracted client. He CC'd me. Vanessa called me 40 minutes after the letter arrived. She was crying. How could you do this to me? Marcus is asking me questions I can't answer. He wants to know why I told him I booked the venue when I didn't. He's asking why your name is on everything. He's looking at me like I lied to him. You did lie to him. I didn't lie. I simplified things. He didn't need to know every little detail. You told him you found the venue. You told him you negotiated the rate. You told your Instagram followers you discovered Whitmore Estate. You told 200 wedding guests that I showed up in a cheap dress. And the whole time, I was the one whose name was holding the entire event together. She was quiet for a long time. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, small, almost childlike, she said, I didn't think it mattered. That's the problem, Vanessa. You didn't think I mattered. I told her I wasn't going to pay the balance. I told her I wasn't going to ask Arthur to waive it. And I told her that if she and Marcus didn't settle it within 30 days, Arthur would pursue it through normal collection procedures, and the contract with my name on it would become Exhibit A in a paper trail that told a very clear story about who actually made that wedding happen. She paid it. Marcus paid it, technically. He called me a week later and thanked me genuinely, not performatively. He said he'd had a long conversation with Vanessa about what had actually happened, and that he was embarrassed he hadn't known. He said he wished he'd been told the truth from the beginning. "For what it's worth," he said, "I thought the venue was incredible. The coordination was flawless. If I'd known it was you behind all of it, I would have said so in my own toast." I thanked him. I didn't say anything about Vanessa. That was between them. My mother called me the following Sunday. She'd heard about the letter. She was upset not at Vanessa, of course, but at the situation. "I just wish you girls could get along without all this conflict." "Mum, I coordinated her entire wedding, paid the deposit out of my own pocket, and she mocked me in front of everyone. Then she told Marcus she did it all herself. That's not conflict, that's erasure." My mother was quiet. Then she said something that surprised me. "Your father found the contract copies you left on the kitchen counter when you came for dinner last month. He read through them. He didn't say anything to me until yesterday." She paused. "He's angry, Naomi. Not at you." It was the first time I could remember my father taking my side about anything involving Vanessa. He didn't call me to talk about it, but the next time I saw him, he hugged me longer than usual and said, "You did good work on that wedding, kid." That was enough. Vanessa and I didn't speak for 3 months. When she finally reached out, it wasn't an apology, not exactly. It was a text that said, "I know I should have handled things differently. I'm not great at saying thank you. I'm working on it." I read it several times. It wasn't enough, but it was honest. I responded, "I appreciate you saying that. I need some space, but I'm not going anywhere. We're not close now. I don't know if we ever will be again, or if we ever really were, if I'm being honest with myself. But something changed in how my family sees me. My mother asks about my job now. My father mentions my work to his friends. Marcus sends me a text every few months, usually something funny, sometimes a genuine check-in. Vanessa and I exchange pleasantries at holidays. The warmth isn't there yet, but the pretending is gone, and I'll take that trade. I still work at Whitmore Estate. Arthur gave me a raise in January and added events director to my title. Last month, a bride-to-be came in for a venue tour and told me she'd seen photos from a gorgeous October wedding online and had to book the same location. "The bride had such incredible taste," she said. "Did you happen to work that event?" I smiled. "I did. I handled every detail." She looked around the ballroom, the chandeliers, the garden terrace visible through the glass doors, the fairy lights that I'd originally chosen for Vanessa's wedding, and Arthur had decided to keep permanently. "It must have been amazing," she said. I thought about the navy dress still hanging in my closet. I'd almost donated it twice, but couldn't bring myself to do it. It's not a symbol of shame anymore. It's a reminder that I walked into the most important room of my professional life, wearing the cheapest thing on my body and the most valuable thing on the contract. "Yeah," I said. "It really was.